What is going on, everyone? This is NinjaGeek here, and today I want to talk about Infinity Ward's next game in 2019. Now, that may seem like a far leap to go to, and I'm going to explain here, but because Treyarch hasn't even released Black Ops 4 yet, it might seem like it's a little out of place to be talking about Infinity Ward's game, right? Well, I am going to basically explain really why I'm talking about this topic, more towards the end, I would say, but we have to get a few things off first. So most of the time, when you're online, you see most people that are a part of this same community say that COD is dying, whether that has been in the past with previous Call of Duty games or now, and they're saying that it's dying or it has been dying or it's on the decline, and those two things alone in itself are different. COD is on the decline or COD is dying, those are two pretty much different things, or even COD is dead, that's a different thing in itself. But decline means that it's slowly coming down. It's not as popular as it used to be, whereas dead means completely like dead. And that's really what I'm trying to get a point across here, is that COD is not dead. The sales numbers actually prove that theory or concept wrong, because Call of Duty is the #1 best-selling game every single year, except for when Ghost released and GTA 5 came out in the same year, and Ghost was a new IP, so people didn't get attracted to it as heavily as they did with the Modern Warfare series, and obviously Grand Theft Auto is a huge series in itself from Rockstar Games, so it makes sense that in that one year, Grand Theft Auto came as the #1 best-selling game, but typically Call of Duty is always the #1 best-selling game every single year. Even in 2016, when Battlefield 1 had a huge run-up with Infinite Warfare, and you could say, Modern Warfare Remastered drove most of those sales, but at the end of the day, people still bought Infinite Warfare, whether they liked it or not, and they bought the hard edition, whatever you call it, the second most edition that came with Modern Warfare Remastered, in other words, and it still was the #1 best-selling game against Battlefield 1, which tried to heavily compete against Call of Duty, and they came really, really close, but Infinite Warfare still won. So what do I mean by that? That Call of Duty is nowhere near dead. However, it's not like it used to be, where it was selling so many copies back in Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 1 and MW3, and then we saw sort of a steady decline since then. Now, some games have spiked. There are games that hasn't all gone downhill, like it's probably gone downhill from Ghosts and Advanced Warfare, and I believe Black Ops 3 sold more, and then I believe Infinite Warfare was a dip again, and World War II started selling more, and Black Ops 4 apparently is predicted to outsell Red Dead Redemption 2, which I honestly don't think so, but, then again, what do I know? But what I mean to say is that it's definitely nowhere near dead, and it has been on the decline, and really what I'm trying to get at is this year alone is the most pivotal year in the history, I think, of the franchise, and that's kind of vague to say, really, because in the past, even during Advanced Warfare, I remember thinking to myself, well, listen, Infinity Ward made Ghosts, and Sledgehammer made Advanced Warfare. This year with Treyarch has to really turn this franchise around. It is the most pivotal year in Call of Duty history, and now I'm saying that again, coming up here with Black Ops 4, that it's the most pivotal year in Call of Duty history. And when I mean this year, I actually sort of mean next year with Infinity Ward, because, like I said before, I don't think Black Ops 4 has enough, with the multiplayer side alone, I don't think they have enough staying power to keep people playing Black Ops 4. With zombies, yes, and we haven't seen Blackout yet, but with the regular multiplayer, I can just say that it feels old, while at the same time changing so many things that Call of Duty fans already know, and COD fans don't really like to adapt to an entirely new concept or idea. They just like the same thing over and over again, and changed in different ways, but not drastically, and Black Ops 4 kind of drastically changes up that theory. or what's in the game. So I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen with Black Ops 4. It could be a huge success. It could be better than Black Ops 3. Or it could be a total flop. Or it could just be a mediocre game in the middle. And so what I have to say is I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen this year with Treyarch. And that's why I point my fingers at Infinity Ward for next year, right? And at this point, throughout the past year, I would say, or the past few months, really, most of us have seen rumors or people discussing it heavily, and we all know and truly believe that Infinity Ward has to make Modern Warfare 4. Alright, and I've discussed this before in a couple previous videos. Infinity Ward, they're going to make Modern Warfare 4. They're going to pull this together. It's going to be a great boots on the ground game, modern combat, this and that's going to be excellent. We don't know what's going to happen with Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, but, I say I'd rather have a new modern game. If they decide to not make Modern Warfare 2, it would be kind of sad if we didn't see it remastered, but that's a whole other topic. But, it's going to be Modern Warfare 4, it's going to be great. Infinity Ward, they brought back the old staff that used to be with them back in MW2, apparently. Not all of them, but a lot of those members have rejoined Infinity Ward, I guess. And so many people, it's going to be Modern Warfare 4, and that's great. But what if it's not? And that's the real problem that I have. What if Infinity Ward isn't making Modern Warfare 4, or any type of modern game, even if they don't call it Modern Warfare 4? What if, they're making a modern game, but instead of calling it Modern Warfare, which it would kind of be dumb to make a modern game and not continue that kind of franchise thing, but if they made a new one. But either way, let's say altogether that they don't make any type of modern game and they make a future game that's more jetpacky than Black Ops 3 is, or 4 is, or Infinite Warfare is, because essentially what I'm trying to say here is that I remember, and I referenced this a few times in previous videos, that Eric Hirschberg said himself that this year, or these next this cycle basically, so World War II, Black Ops 4 with Treyarch, and what Infinity Ward is making is going to be the best that the franchise has seen. And that's a bold statement. And so that's why also a lot of people are thinking, well, it's going to be Modern Warfare 4. And, it's tough because obviously we don't know at this point. But if it's not MW4, and it turns out to be another jetpack game, because technically we haven't got one, right? Black Ops 4, it's sort of futuristic, but it's not jetpacky. So Infinity Ward could make a jetpack game, and then you'd have diversity. You'd have a World War II pre-pass game. You'd have a futuristic sort of game, but that's still boots on the ground. And then you'd have a jetpack game. And at the time in 2019, the last jetpack game would have been Infinite Warfare in 2016. So Infinite Warfare would be 3 years old at that point. So maybe they would make a jetpack game, but we don't really know. And my next point that I do have to bring up as well is that, and it kind of boggles my mind a little bit, is that some people in the COD community, and I mainly am talking about what I've seen on Reddit, but it's also everywhere, like on Twitter, whatever, social media, online, they state that they actually don't want to see Modern Warfare 4 because it's just going to be a giant nostalgic cash grab for Activision, and they would rather not have it be a modern game, which kind of boggles me because, first of all, if Infinity Ward decides that they are making Modern Warfare 4 and that's what's going to come out, that's what's going to be their next game, it's going to be an entirely new game. It's not going to be like COD 4. It's not going to be like Modern Warfare 2. It's not going to be like Modern Warfare 3. It's going to be its own game. Yeah, and sure, they're probably going to take weapons that were in those old games, and maybe even maps that were in those old games, and game modes that were in those old games, but it's going to be an entirely new game with a new rank up, a new system, entirely new graphics, entirely new everything, because we haven't seen a Modern Warfare game since MW3 came out in 2011. So that was a long time ago, and that was on the older generation of consoles. So I don't understand, like, if Infinity Ward happened to just hypothetically, let's say, remaster Modern Warfare 2 as their game of 2019. Like, that was what they're making. Oh, we're just remastering Modern Warfare 2. Well, yeah, it'd be great, but some people, and I could understand at that point that you would say, oh, it's just a cash grab for Activision to get people from Activision to get people onto the Modern Warfare again and to try out this old game that they just remastered or whatever. And I would be able to agree with that point if people had made it, but you're talking about a new game here. A new game. Now, granted, it's not a new IP, but it's a new game. And then you also have people that state, well, I'm sick of all this new future crap. I'm sick of all the new IPs. They should just go back to what they originally did. They should go back to Modern Warfare and make the game, or, whatever the series is, and make the game like it used to be. Don't change too much. Like, innovate a little bit, but we don't want to see crazy stuff. And so it just boggles my mind. It's like this community doesn't really know what it wants. It wants something new, but then when they get something new, they complain that they wanted something old. So it's just a giant loop of a circle, and that's probably why we got 3 Jetpack games in a year, because the developers are sick and tired of listening to everyone complain. So ultimately, I already have stated before that I would like to see Modern Warfare 4, but what if it's not Modern Warfare 4? What if it's Ghost 2, for example, or Infinite Warfare 2, for example? Well, I don't really see them doing a Ghost 2, because they kind of shut out Ghosts when they released Infinite Warfare, so it would be kind of weird to go from MW3 to Ghosts to Infinite Warfare to Ghosts 2. Now, they could do that because Activision is Activision, and we pretty much don't know. We get a year-to-year basis on what they're going to do, and anything can change with them. But ultimately, I don't think that Infinity Ward themselves would decide, let's not really go with Infinite Warfare, let's go with Ghost 2. That doesn't really make sense in their timeline of games. That would be kind of weird. Modern Warfare 3, Ghosts, Infinite Warfare, then Ghost 2. It just would and then they would have to kind of be forced to do an Infinite Warfare 2 because they'd have 2 franchises going on at once. But then you could argue, well, why are we going back to Modern Warfare 4 when, they've already done that series? And my argument to that is we haven't seen it since 2011, and it's mainly what people want. It's not something that nobody wants, like Ghost 2 or Infinite Warfare 2. Now, I personally wouldn't mind a Ghost 2, but I just don't really see them doing that, and I could see them working on an Infinite Warfare 2, in my honest opinion. I don't think that they would do it because of what happened when Infinite Warfare came out, and I think that Infinite Warfare 2 would just completely, it would probably have twice the amount of dislikes that the original Infinite Warfare had, but I could see them doing that. And if Infinity Ward basically doesn't make MW4, then we have Sledgehammer up at bat. And what could Sledgehammer be working on? Maybe they're working on a past game. Maybe they're working on some kind of Vietnam game that I've been hearing, or, all these rumors. And that's way too far into the future. But what I would like to say, in other words, is that World War II has been on and off for me. And ultimately, when Sledgehammer's turn comes again, I don't think I'm going to buy the game, because I never liked Advanced Warfare. I thought that game was pretty much trash, and World War II had severe problems at launch. I didn't like it, and it's gotten a bit better, but I don't really like Sledgehammer as a game developer. So I'm sorry, but I don't. And so if Infinite Warfare 2 comes out, we're going to have Black Ops 4, which I don't entirely like, and I cannot see myself playing that. I mean, yeah, and there is Blackout. But if Infinite Warfare 2 comes out, I don't really see myself playing that. And I don't really see myself playing the Sledgehammer game. So, there's really nothing I can do. It's like Activision's trying to force these people, our community, out of playing their own games. And that's pretty much where I think they're getting their decline. And I think Modern Warfare 4 is really the only decision. And ultimately, I truly believe, everything seems to line up that these older developers came back, and because maybe they got secret info, Infinity Ward's working on this, and then Activision was like, get them back on, because they were with the original Modern Warfare team, whatever the case may be. But and if MW4 comes out, it's going to please so many people that it's going to be a game that we can expect to be supported for years on end. That's kind of what they're doing with these newer Call of Duty games. I think pretty much since World War II and moving on with Black Ops 4, they're saying that their games are going to be more supported years on end. And if Infinity Ward, I don't think that they're a bad studio, right? I think that they've done some things wrong, and I think that if Infinite Warfare was more grounded and less futuristic, I think I would ultimately like it, but the problem was with just the gameplay. I don't really like it, but what they've done with the game, the rewards that they've given, it's just... Infinity Ward, I think, does a good job in that sense, and if they can turn that and put that into a modern game, I think that they would make fans pretty happy. But ultimately, if it doesn't happen, I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen for this franchise, because I think a lot of people would agree that they wouldn't buy Sledgehammer's game, they wouldn't buy an Infinite Warfare 2, so it would just kind of be awkward, I guess is the best way to say it, because then I guess we'd have to wait for Treyarch's next game. But even that's going to be weird in itself, because they've already made Blackout in Black Ops 4, and I don't know if I would see them doing Black Ops 5, but whatever they make in that year is going to be overshadowing Blackout, and who knows if Blackout's going to be updated with newer things from Infinity Ward or Sledgehammer games. I don't know. I don't see it because it's Treyarch's game, but who honestly knows? It's a whole new thing. But ultimately, I hope Infinity Ward knows what they're doing, and I hope that they are working on Modern Warfare 4. But you can let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think would happen if it's not Modern Warfare 4, essentially? And would you buy it if it's not MW4? I don't know, but the only thing that we can really do at this point is just kind of wait until April/May of 2019 till we get some actual information on what it's going to be, and then we'll go from there. But I think this is very pivotal in this franchise and keeping it afloat. And so that's pretty much it. And you could let me know your thoughts down below on what I just said. This is NinjaGeek. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out, and peace.